What lurks in the church? 3 bone-chilling true horror stories you never heard before. The church loomed like a dark shadow in the night, a forgotten relic of faith twisted into something sinister. Rumors whispered of strange happenings, things unseen, yet felt deep in the bones of those who dared approach. The door creaked on its rusty hinges as if inviting a specter from the past. As locals said, those who entered never truly returned. What chilled them the most was the boy who disappeared after stepping inside. Just 12 years old, his laughter echoed through the empty halls, until it didn't. In the weeks that followed, townsfolk caught glimpses of him, pale and hollow-eyed, wandering the graveyard at dusk. His mother, clutching a rosary, searched like a frantic bird, her heart pounding with desperation. She swore she heard him call for her, a haunting whisper carried by the wind. Then there were the flickering lights. Town meetings turned into heated debates over the unexplained shadows dancing on the stained glass. People claimed to see figures: a priest with a gnarled face, a woman in white shadows creeping in the candlelight. Some fainted, others clutched their cross necklaces tighter, while the skeptical shrugged it off as nonsense, but deep down, fear knotted everyone. You could feel it, a tightness in the chest, a chill creeping up the spine. Suddenly, a loud thump echoed through the hall, startling the crowd. The priest, eyes wide and as white as the cream of your morning coffee, turned pale. "Something's wrong," he muttered, trembling hands gripping the pulpit. Murmurs spread like wildfire, eyes darting to the shadows of the church. What was lurking in those corners? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash the like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. With hearts pounding like a drum in the stillness, they all turned back to the altar. But what appeared next was something that pushed all thoughts aside. A flicker of movement in the shadows, a figure rose, cloaked in darkness. It was not just a trick of the light, you could feel the dread in the very air. The questions piled up, everyone knew something terrible was about to unfold. What secrets were buried beneath the altar? What had they awakened? The air thickened, clinging to the skin like a damp shroud. Gasps filled the church as the figure emerged, hovering just at the edge of the flickering candlelight, its features indistinct yet undeniably menacing. It stood there, still and silent, the darkness clawing at its robe as if it were hungry for something more. Time felt like it had stopped, hearts raced, and a collective breath was held. "What is that?" a woman whispered, her voice shaking, as if the very act of speaking might provoke whatever stood before them. The congregation squirmed, shifting their weight uneasily, eyes glued to the dark specter. Shadows danced around the figure, making it appear as if it breathed in and out with a life of its own. The priest's trembling voice broke through the stillness. "I command you, spirit, to reveal yourself." His words echoed through the high arches, but instead of retreating, the figure seemed to grow. A low, hollow laugh filled the space, resonating like the tolling of a distant bell. It pierced ears, pulling every soul towards the brink of terror. "What have you awoken?" a man shouted from the back, trying to assert control, but the tremor in his voice betrayed him. Those who had once dismissed the tales of the church now felt the cold fingers of dread crawling along their spines, and then, a flicker of recognition ignited within the priestess' wide eyes. You cannot be," he stammered, a grappling fear clawing at his gut. The congregation looked confused, a mix of disbelief and mounting terror. Who or what was this entity? The figure shifted, and in that moment, a flash of moonlight illuminated its features. Pale skin stretched tight over hollow cheeks, eyes sunken and dark as night itself. It wasn't just an apparition, it was something worse, something that shouldn't belong in their world. It was the face of the boy that had vanished weeks earlier. A gut-wrenching gasp escaped from the priest as he staggered back, his body colliding with the altar. The boyish laughter filled the air again, echoing off the damp stone walls like a sinister chorus. It was distorted, twisted, morphing into a riddle of joy and despair. A chilling reminder of innocence lost. "Help me, mother!" his voice cried out, haunting and desperate, pulling on the heartstrings of every parent present. The mother, still gripping her rosary, rushed forward, tears streaming down her face. "My baby! Where are you?" Her cries mingled with the laughter, creating an eerie harmony that resonated throughout the darkened space. "Do not approach," the priest warned, waving his hands frantically. It was too late though. The boyish form flickering between a child and a creature of nightmare, desperately seeking something only a mother could offer. They were now bound by an unseen force, the air crackling with impending doom. As the mother reached for her child, the church shook violently. Dust rained down from the ceiling, and the shadows seemed to lengthen, slithering towards her like vipers. "Stay back!" she screamed, torn between love and instinctual terror. The figure smiled, or at least it looked that way, a grim reflection of a boy forever trapped, waiting for someone to release him from the curse that had chained him to this world. In that moment, the truths the townsfolk ignored roared to life, feral and raw. What had the church become? What had they unleashed upon themselves? The ground began to tremble, and the walls whispered secrets of the past. It felt alive, as if every forgotten prayer and unconfessed sin seeped through the cracks. With the atmosphere thick with despair, the desperate question loomed: would any of them make it out alive? As fear descended upon their hearts, an unseen evil awaited to harvest more souls, luring them deeper into the church's dark embrace. What truths lay hidden beneath the altar, and who would pay the ultimate price to uncover them? The mother froze, her hand trembling just inches from the ghastly visage of her son. The flickering candles cast uneasy shadows on the walls, distorting reality further. The laughter transformed into a chorus of cries, a cacophony of grief echoing through the church, reverberating against every stone. "It's not him! It can't be!" Another voice yelled, disbelief ricocheting off the archways. A man stumbled back, his face ashen, grappling with the horrifying revelation. "It's a trick, some unholy trick!" But the boyish form continued to flicker, revealing glimpses of childhood innocence twisted beneath sorrow. For every pulse of clarity, the whispers from the shadows grew louder, gnawed at the edges of sanity, a cruel reminder of what was lost. "Please take me home." The plea rolled from the boy's lips, but now it dripped with desperation, seeping into the hearts of all who listened. The mother could scarcely breathe, her heart pounding like thunder, each beat resonating a painful truth. Could she truly face the horror of what he had become? "Get away from him!" she screamed, fighting against an instinct that told her to rescue him. The fear tightened around her chest, constricting her breath. The congregation blurred into a leftward panic, eyes darting between the priest, the boy, and the lurking shadows. The priest staggered forward, holding a shook-encrusted crucifix high, its surface cracked yet glinting defiantly. "Back, foul spirit!" His voice wavered, as the tremor in his hands betrayed his resolve to confront the darkness. "You have no power here." But the shadows only thickened around the specter, merging seamlessly, as if they sought to pull the boy back into their abyss. There was a terrible sense of anticipation building in the air, something dark and consuming waiting to reveal its true face. The boy's laughter returned, but it had changed, darkened, warped. It was an invitation into a nightmarish world. "Help me, mother! Don't you see? They want to keep me here. Forever." The wall behind the altar trembled, cracks spider-webbing outward, pulsating, as though the entire structure was alive, eager to devour the living. Screams erupted from the congregation as the church began to splinter, light flickering on and off, a dance between the realms. "Run!" someone shouted, but fear paralyzed them, making them pawns trapped in this game of horror. Suddenly, the boy's form twisted, transforming yet again, merging into a malevolent being cloaked in shadows. The stark silence broke with a sharp crack, a flash of light splitting the darkness. In that moment, everything stood still. The laughter, the screams, the fear caught in the grip of the unknown. A chilling murmur wafted from the cracks in the walls, words almost comprehensible yet dripping with malice, calling out to souls abandoned. "Join us!" Every instinct told them to flee, but still, they stood transfixed, the pull of the entity a heavy weight anchoring them down. Was there any escape from this torment? Or would they find themselves trapped within the walls of this blasphemous church forever? As the figure's laughter crescendoed, the ground shifted violently beneath their feet, leaving them dangling on the edge of chaos. Only an abyss yawned below. What lay beneath this twisted altar? And who among them would choose to sacrifice their own soul in hopes of freeing another? The air thickened with dread, the room pulsing in sync with the trembling shadows. Desperation gripped the mother as her gaze remained locked on the boy's twisted form. Each flicker brought brief familiarity before it was swallowed again by malevolence. Do something. Please, she choked, tears streaming down her cheeks, her heart a war drum against the shrieking silence. She took a hesitant step forward, breaking the spell, but the heavy air weighed her down. Every inch a battle, the priest faltered, the crucifix less a weapon and more a plea for salvation. His voice wavered, in the name of God, I command you. But the walls trembled louder, the cracks creeping like angry veins, and all around him, the congregation began to shake, confusion and terror mingling. A woman near the back, clutching her baby tightly, screamed, It's not my fault. I let him go. Her words pierced the chaos, striking a raw nerve. The guilt wrapped around the mother like a shroud, squeezing her heart. Was that how they had failed him? Was this punishment? The boy's form writhed, echoing her thoughts. You left me, he taunted, each word dripping with ice. She felt the stares of the congregation seeping into her skin, their fear morphing into silent blame, a tide of resentment rising with unknown intent. Stop it! The priest roared, stepping forward with renewed vigor, desperately focusing on the remnants of the boy. This is the work of demons. Those who feast on despair. But the shadows, now swirling with malicious intent, echoed back with a mocking whisper. Join us, you will feel the release. The room shifted, as if the very building were sucking the light from the air, consuming their hopes piece by piece. Cries of panic surged, a tidal wave of dread. Get out! A voice broke through the din, a bystander already racing for the door, panic-stricken, but others froze. How could they abandon one of their own? An internal battle flared. Sacrifice the few to save the many? Or cling to feudal ties of love? The boy laughed, a high, wretched sound, and the walls shook with the vibration. You can save me. Just give in. I know you want a terror-warped reality, and in a flickering moment, the boyish essence broke into shards of light and shadow, splintering the air. People screamed as if flesh were forced out of their skin, the piercing agony of realization striking every soul present. The horror they felt was creeping closer, shadows coiling around them like serpents from the abyss. Suddenly, piercing light erupted from the altar as if a great force were pushing against the darkness. The priest raised the crucifix higher, the glint drawing everyone's attention, a final bastion against the encroaching tide. We will not bow to you. Too late. The boyish form shrieked, dissolving into an amalgamation of echoes and shadows, swirling like a tempest around them. The ground beneath them quaked violently. Would they stand together, reconciled in love and hope, or would the power of despair devour them all? Eyes wide, souls trembling, they stared into the growing chasm beneath the altar, questioning the reality of what lay below. Every heart beat with the same question: would they reach for salvation or surrender to the darkness? As the congregation stared into the abyss, would they find deliverance in unity or succumb to their fractured past? The flickering light dimmed, and suddenly, a simple whisper knifed through the chaos: choose. What dark choices awaited them? And what truth would they uncover in the final moments? The shadows surged, and the room held its breath. It felt as if time itself had stopped. Every eye was glued to the pulsing void, fear stitched into their very beings. The priest clenched the crucifix, knuckles white, his voice a defiant roar against the engulfing darkness. We will choose life. We will not yield. But doubt seeped through the congregation like a slow poison. Some clutched their loved ones tighter, hearts racing wildly, while others cast hopeless glances toward the door. The boy's laughter echoed again, cruel and mocking, as if he was feeding on their despair. You cannot escape me. I am every bad choice you've made, every regret you bury deep inside. The woman with the baby struggled against the instinct to flee, her heart pounding in sync with the chaos around her. No! Don't listen to him! She screamed, voice cracking. He lies. Yet even her words felt fragile against the weight of the shadows pressing closer. They wrapped tighter around the congregation, threatening to snuff out hope like a wick in a storm. Stand firm! The priestess' shout danced in the air, slicing through the tension, but the boy was relentless. You think you can resist me? I am a part of you. I am your darkness, your grief. As if summoned by his twisted words, images flashed before the onlookers, horrific memories and lost opportunities that echoed through the chambers of their hearts. Faces of loved ones lost, chances never taken, and guilt that churned like acid in their stomachs. The specters of their past surrounded them, dancing in malicious glee. Some members of the congregation faltered, eyes glazing over as the memories dragged them down. The whispering shadows clawed at their consciousness, threading doubt into their minds. Join us, surrender to the shadows. It's easier. The room vibrated with tension as they grappled with fear. The mother with tear-streaked cheeks stepped forward, trembling yet resolute. No. You don't understand. We can't give in. Then, from the depths of chaos, emerged a twisted figure. Remnants of the boy formed a ghastly reflection of everything they feared. His eyes glowed with unnatural hunger, piercing through the veil of denial. Choice? What do you know of choice? You forsook me. Their minds tormented, the congregation stood at a precipice. Would they ground themselves in love or tumble into despair? We were wrong. I should have held you, loved you. The mother's words trembled, filled with raw anguish as she faced the nightmare. In that moment of vulnerability, the boy paused, confusion flickering across his shadowy visage. You felt that? Hope mingled with desperation as the priest stepped in alongside the grieving mother. We all made mistakes. We all failed. But love does not abandon. The walls trembled, shadows quaking, and the boy momentarily flickered, battling against the unyielding light they offered. What you've lost can be found if you just reach for it. Yet the price of salvation hung heavy in the air. One soul would have to confront the darkness first, a sacrifice needed to break the cycle of despair. Collective gasps filled the room as the congregation hesitated, fear gripping them once more. The moment of truth lingered painfully, stretching into a tense silence. Their hearts weighed down by the choice that beckoned them forward. Who will it be? The air grew thick, heartbeats echoing loudly as uncertainty suffocated their fragile bravery. A chill crept closer, shadows shifted in anticipation, knowing the choice would not remain unmade. The question hung like a guillotine blade. What burden would they accept? And who among them would take that final step into redemption or annihilation? The flickering light dimmed further, and the whispers grew louder, wrapping around their minds like a noose. Choose. The air hung thick with dread, wrapping around every heart like a vice. Faces flickered in the dim light, each one reflecting the storm of emotions crashing within. In that frozen moment, it was as if the world outside the church had been swallowed whole, leaving only the struggle between light and darkness in its wake. Who will be the sacrificial light? A voice trembled from the back, breaking the suffocating silence. It belonged to an elder, eyes wide and glistening with unshed tears. We're all stronger together. Let us not divide our suffering. The boyish laughter echoed cruelly, sharp as broken glass. Stronger? Together? You don't even know the depths of your darkness. I feed on your regrets, remember? It's where your power lies. He beckoned toward the shadows, embrace it. It feels good to let go. The mother gripped her baby tighter, heart racing. We have to fight. We can't let him take us. There was desperation in her eyes, a fierce determination igniting a spark within, but who would step forward? Who could bear the weight of sacrifice? The congregation's fear morphed into a collective paralysis, uncertainty banding them together in a web of echoes, every sigh and whimper melding into the ominous murmur of shadows. Step forward! The priest bellowed, his voice a desperate command, though inside he felt his own resolve wavering. Face the shadow. We can't let it win. One by one, they cast fearful glances at each other, an unspoken conversation rippling through the room. Memories intertwined, fingers trembling as they clutched palms, a silent struggle brewing as they looked for someone to lead them through the labyrinth of despair. The boy advanced, his form weaving, taunting. You think love is enough? Your love can never be as strong as your pain. You've spent your lives hiding from it. He hovered close, formless yet magnetic, drawing the congregation into his cold embrace. Suddenly, a cry rang out. The mother stepped forward, defiance shining in her eyes. I'll go. I'll confront my darkness. No! Gasped a young man, shooting his hand toward her. What if enough? She shouted, her voice breaking but powerfully raw. I will not live in fear. He took my joy from me, he stole my peace. I will snatch it back. The boy squirmed, flickering as she spoke, the shadows shivering with uncertainty. Do you really think it's so simple? Simple or not, I have to try. Desperation surged through her veins, every heartbeat striking the tempo of bravery. The congregation leaned in, a wave of solidarity blooming behind her. Faces once filled with trepidation shifted to one of shared purpose. It was an emotional alchemy, hope forged in fire, rising from even the deepest despair. What must I do? She called out, her voice low yet resonant, breaking through the darkness like dawn breaking a long night. The boy's features twisted grotesquely, a shadow of confusion mixing with rage. You'll have to surrender. He hesitated, and I will show you the truth about every regret. The air crackled electric, anticipatory. The congregation, now united, held their breath, watching as she took one more step forward, ready to embrace confrontation. And just when it seemed the darkness would consume them all, a blinding flash of light erupted, flooding the church in brilliance. The shadows recoiled, shrieking in agony. What? The boyish voice trembled, fear edging into his bravado. As the light swallowed everything in its path, the mother gasped, realizing the truth behind his deceit. But how strong was the light? Would it be enough to banish the boy forever? The congregation remained frozen, eyes fixated as the tumult of shadows shrieked and writhed, caught between life and oblivion. But would she be able to seize this unique moment? And as the petrifying silence stitched itself anew, one question echoed louder than the shrieks: what truth would she have to confront to break the boy's hold completely? A truth that could either save them or doom them all. The light enveloped the church, a brilliant force that tore at the edges of reality, and as it pulsed, the very walls seemed to tremble. The boy recoiled, his laughter turning into a pained screech that pierced the air, a sound so raw it threatened to tear apart the fragile bonds of courage sewn within the congregation. Shadows twisted in frantic desperation as the church transformed into a battleground, a blinding arena of light fighting against creeping darkness. The mother stood at the heart of it all, feeling the weight of 1,000 eyes pressing upon her. She could see the flickering shadows attempting to creep back into their place, retreating in the face of her boldness. Yet, she knew the battle wasn't merely physical. It lay buried in her heart, rooted deep in her memories, in the regrets she had long hidden. Show me! She shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos as she stepped into the light. Show me the truth. The boy's eyes narrowed, caught between defiance and desperation. You really want to know? Fine. Let us peel back the layers. He shuddered as if struggling with an unseen force, and before she could flinch, darkness erupted into the light surrounding her. Images flooded her mind, rapid and piercing. She was suddenly thrust into her past, her failures vividly replayed like scenes from a tragic film. Moments of neglect, words left unspoken, friends turned away. Each memory cut like a knife, agitating wounds that never truly healed. She gasped, the air thickening, compressing around her throat like a noose, but somewhere within that chaos, a flicker of light persisted. It was her son's laughter, innocent and pure, echoing in the back of her mind, a tether anchoring her to hope. These are just shadows, she whispered to herself, her pulse racing as she clung to that light. The congregation moved as one, hearts hammering in sync, emotions cascading in waves. They felt her courage, igniting their own, and one by one they stepped toward her, refusing to surrender to despair. The priest stepped forward, face determined. We stand with you. Face it together. The air crackled, tension seeping deeper as the boy spiraled in defiance. You think they can save you? This light is your demise. You'll drown in your regrets. A cacophony of shouts erupted, voices intertwined, tangled, urging forged into a protective shield around the mother. The light is not just yours. A trembling elder shouted. It belongs to all of us. We fought through our pasts as well. The shadows shrieked, squirming violently against their collective force, splintering into fragments that clawed at the edges of their resolve. The boy's form twisted grotesquely, his features slipping with every attempt to snuff out the light. No! You will not win. In that moment, a single thought crystallized in the mother's mind. You feed on our regrets, but it's time to reclaim them. With that, she thrust her hands forward, embracing the shadows within her, allowing every mistake, every moment of grief, to flood through her veins. The congregation mirrored her motion, channeling their hidden pain, transforming it into a powerful wave of light. The air exploded. Light shattered the darkness, and the shadows writhed as if burning under the intensity of their shared strength. But then something deep within her recoiled. The truth woven in shadows surged up, a visceral echo of her deepest fear. Would confronting it mean losing everything? The boyish laughter returned, sinister, dancing around them. You might think you can escape me, but the real battle has only just begun. Breathless, the mother stood facing the boy, heart thundering in her chest. Would this newfound strength be enough? And as the congregation surged forward, their own fears laid bare and exposed, an unsettling question echoed in her thoughts: what would they truly have to sacrifice to vanquish him once and for all? The boyish laughter echoed through the church, ricocheting off the walls like a sinister symphony. Each note twisted into a knife that plunged deeper into the hearts of the congregation. They grasped each other's hands tighter, a lifeline holding them steady in the whirlwind of emotions swirling around them. Face your pain. The mother yelled above the chaos. She felt the energy coalesce around her, a tangible force born from shared suffering. You cannot drown us. We've survived too much. The boy hissed, his eyes flickering with an unnatural glow. Shadows coiled around him, as if they were alive, slithering up his arms and weaving into his skin. You think these memories make you stronger? They will break you. You're not ready for what lies beneath them. With that, he unleashed a torrent of darkness that crashed like a tidal wave. It tore through the church, scattering the congregation, their cries swallowed in the relentless surge. The mother stood firm, pulling through the onslaught as faces blurred and screams blended into a cacophony of despair. She shielded her heart, circling her thoughts back to that flickering light, the laughter of her son, innocent and bright. Hold on. The priest shouted, urging the congregation to gather back. But shadows clawed at the edges of their resolve as despair threatened to consume them whole. Faces turned to masks of fear, and the mother recognized their battle was far from just her own. Find your light. She urged them, her voice resolute despite the darkness swirling inches from her face. Remember who you are beyond the shadows. The light within you is a force. As if a spell was cast, the congregation began to hum, a resonant frequency rising between them, building a fortress against the encroaching void. One by one, they began to recall their moments of courage, transforming grief into strength, fear into clarity. The boyish form shifted, anguish contorting his features. No. You aren't allowed to escape. You belong to me. With every heartbeat, the shadows writhed, growing restless. You fed on our misery for too long. The mother shouted, emboldened. No longer. We claim our lives back. The congregation chimed their agreement, voices rising like the sun breaking dawn. They together formed a circle around the mother, illuminating the darkness with defiance. But lingering doubts bubbled beneath the surface. The boyish laughter morphed into something worse, mocking, cruel. Ah, but do you know what you'll lose to secure your light? The price of this journey is steep. Can you bear the cost? Her stomach nodded painfully. The truth in his words stung. What would she have to give up? Would facing down their deepest fears require abandoning those she loved? Would she be alone? Shadows surged forward, grappling for her, twisting around her legs and pulling her toward the dark abyss. She gasped, the congregation faltering. Don't give up. The priest yelled, instilling hope amidst chaos. Together. We can break this curse. A pulse of energy erupted, igniting within the mother a fierce determination. Remember. She screamed, feeling the shadows dig in deeper. Remember, you are not alone. We can do this together. And then, unexpectedly, the first crack of hope broke through the shadows. A single burst of light pierced through, expanding, breaking the grasp of fear. But just then, a chilling realization hit her. That flicker was not just a beacon, it was a harbinger of everything she held dear. The boy's laughter echoed once more, and his voice turned sharp. You think this moment is your victory? Wait, something far darker is about to rise. The air thickened, tension climbing as they braced themselves for the storm that was brewing at the edge of understanding. Would they all be ready for what was yet to come? The congregation held its breath, the air charged with a palpable electricity, as the shadows receded momentarily, revealing the frantic faces of the brave few who stood side by side with the mother. Their eyes shone with tears, but there was a shared fire growing within, ignited by hope and relinquished fear. But darkness didn't retreat, it pulsed and writhed as if sensing their resolve. The boy laughed again, a sound looming like a storm just on the horizon. "You think you've found your light? It's just a flicker in an ocean of despair." The shadows converged, transforming into tendrils that reached toward them with icy fingers. A palpable chill enveloped the church, and an uncomfortable stillness settled. The silence was heavy, stretching like a taut wire ready to snap. "Do you know what it feels like to have everything ripped away?" The boy taunted, his eyes glimmering with cruel delight. "To lose hope, to drown in darkness?" His laughter echoed menacingly in the silence, and chills traveled down spines as people remembered their own losses, their own shadows. "Stay strong," the priest urged, but he too felt the weight of the boy's words. That is when shadows began to take form, each a twisted reflection of past traumas, regrets, and sorrows, dancing mockingly before the congregation, testing their resolve. One woman wept silently, her memories surfacing. A face she begged to forget appeared between the shadows, the image of her lost child jutting out like a thorn in her heart. The darkness latched onto her pain, feeding greedily, coaxing her to absence and despair. Her hands trembled, the collective strength of the group waning. "Focus. We are more than our pain. Remember that light." The mother shouted, but doubt twisted itself around her heart too. What if the boy spoke the truth? Could embracing their fear lead them to lose those they fought for? The priest raised his hands, face taut with concentration. "We must give something to gain strength," he called, but fear churned in the pit of their stomachs. The fear of sacrifice hung thick in the air, a dark cloud weighing down the bright flicker of hope they could feel in their chests. A deep rumble coursed through the church, and the lights flickered as shadows began to dance wildly, distorting the figures of the congregation, warping into grotesque shapes. "Embrace it," the boy jeered, lifting his arms and letting out a thunderous laugh. "Join me in the shadows. It will be easier to forget." At that moment, one man, the strongest of them all, stepped forward, fists clenched. "I won T. I won T. Let you win. My son's laughter is brighter than your darkness." His voice pierced through the chaos, and the shadows shrieked. With every declaration of love and remembrance, beams of light erupted with furious intensity, scattering the encroaching darkness. They shattered the air with waves of shimmering energy, each pulse reflecting their courage and resilience. But the boy grinned, his form shifting like smoke, rising above the chaos. With a snap of his fingers, darkness clung tighter around the hopeless, and the church shuddered violently. "You're not strong enough yet. The true test is coming, and it will break you." The air grew thick with tension as everyone realized the true horror of what the boy meant. A deeper fear crept into their hearts, a fear of facing not just the past, but something they had yet to comprehend, something they couldn't fathom. Suddenly, a figure flickered at the edge of the dark. It was familiar yet terrifying. Whispers spread through the assembly as they struggled to identify what approached. With the shadows, heartbeats fluttered like caged birds. And then, just as the darkness seemed to swallow hope, a voice echoed through the chaos. "You think understanding the darkness will save you? Wait until you see who comes next." With that, silence fell and a new dread filled their eyes. They clung to each other, whispering frantic prayers into the consuming shadows. Would the darkness reveal their greatest fears, or would it conjure something more sinister altogether? The darkness surged forward, an unrelenting force pressing against the thin veneer of hope they clung to. The mother stepped closer, trembling but determined, and shouted, "We won T. Back down. We are not just our past." The congregation rallied around her, driven by a collective refusal to succumb to despair. The shadows hovered, cloaked figures slipping between the pews, their whispers clawing at the edges of sanity. Each of them bore the weight of their regrets, but they were pushing back, hands clasped tight, hearts beating as one. "Together," the priest urged, voice straining against the pulsing darkness. "Stand firm." The boyish form flickered, a grotesque collage of innocence and malice. "You think you can resist?" I am every whisper of guilt, every insecurity you've ever felt. You cannot fight what you are. His laughter, sharp like glass, shattered their resolve, but flickers of light began to weave between them, igniting courage where despair threatened to take root. No! We are stronger than you! The mother cried, her voice piercing through the veil. You may haunt us, but we define our own stories. The words ignited a spark in the crowd. One by one, they began recalling their moments of strength, the first steps of a child, the laughter shared, the warmth of forgiveness given. The shadows recoiled momentarily, and the boyish laughter twisted into something pained. You dare confront me? I'll show you the price of defiance. And just like that, the darkness surged again, but this time with a different intensity, as if something ancient had awakened beneath the altar. With a blinding flash, the room erupted in bright radiance, and a figure emerged from the brightness, a spectral presence, woven from the light of every prayer uttered within those walls. It carried with it an aura of unyielding compassion, shattering the shadows like glass. The boy shrieked, trying to draw back, but the light washed over the congregation like warm rain, reminding them of every moment that made life worth living. Who are you? The boy croaked, fear leaking into his bravado. The figure glowed brighter, responding only with silence, a powerful answer filled with love and understanding. I am hope, it finally whispered, and as the sound resonated, it created waves that pulsed around the church, filling every crevice, chasing away the darkness. The shadows screamed, twisting in frantic agony as the light grew fiercer, illuminating the faces of the congregation. The mother stood resolute, strength blooming in her chest. You are only memories, twisted and corrupted. We release you. And with that, a tide of light surged, embracing each person in the audience. They clutched their hands tighter, voices rising like thunder that drowned out the boyish sinister laughter, resonating with a chant of unity. I forgive myself. I am worthy of love. I am more than my fears. And suddenly, the shadows began to unravel and dissolve, a tempest breaking under the might of love and acceptance. No! No! The boy screamed as the spirits entwined with the brightness. You can't just cast me aside. Without darkness, there is no light. In a moment of illuminating clarity, the mother reached toward the boy who had once been her son, her heart bursting with a warmth that existed beyond grief. You were never just darkness. You're part of our story, too. Her words were like a lifeline, tethering the shadows to the light. Let us reunite. For a moment, the boy hesitated as her love wrapped around him, and the darkness receded slightly, revealing glimpses of the child he once was. I just wanted peace, he whispered, cracking the facade of malice surrounding him. With a sudden surge, together they plunged into the light, a vibrant explosion that washed over everything, banishing the darkness completely. The congregation felt a release, a collective breath as the shadows turned into gentle wisps of smoke, disappearing into the air like promises made whole again. As silence draped the church, an overwhelming sense of peace enveloped them. The boyish laughter returned, pure and joyful, ringing through the once tainted sanctuary. The lighting softened, revealing the beauty of the church, anew, stained glass glimmering, pews smelling sweetly of polished wood, warm sunlight pouring through the windows. The mother crumpled into the arms of those beside her, tears of joy mingling with grief in a bittersweet symphony. They had endured. Together, they had faced darkness and walked back into the light. They would carry the boyish memory, forever a part of their collective heart. The priest stepped forward, wiping tears from his eyes and grinning widely. Together, we shall rebuild, he said, triumph filling his voice. Together, we honor those we've lost and those we have saved. As they emerged from the shadows of despair, a new dawn broke outside, an invitation to start fresh. No longer would they linger in fears of the unknown. With hope rekindled and love binding them, they stepped toward the light, ready for the future, where even the darkest stories could lead to redemption. As they walked out, a brilliant sun cast warmth upon their faces. Together, they felt stronger, bonded by shared sacrifice and love. The shadows were no more, but echoes of laughter lingered, ensuring that they would always remember the boy, a reminder of darkness that could never return. But for now, they were free. If you enjoyed this story and want to uncover even more thrilling tales, you need to subscribe now. Don't wait even one more second, hit that red button so you don't miss future exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep the good vibes rolling. And I want to hear from you. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. And lastly, Get out there and instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support makes all the difference. Let us keep this community thriving together.